Welcome to Patch and Crash, a place where gaming and culture collide with life, from gaming insiders to gamers.
I'm your co-host, Paul, representing production. With me is Mike, representing marketing, and lastly, Hans, representing code.
And today's topic is mobile gaming destroying premium HD gaming? But before we jump into that, we're going to do a little bit of play, hate, or miss. And so with that, Paulie, why don't you take it off?
Oh, geez. All right. I have limited time. Playing. Right now, I'm doing a lot of co-op games with my wife. Trying to find something that we can both play. So I've recently downloaded Cat Quest 2 because we both love cats and RPGs. It works out quite well. We also grabbed Minecraft Dungeons, which is the newest thing out of Mojang. Haven't gotten very far in that one, but the intro kind of level that we played was super basic. Not vibing with it too hard right now, but we'll see. I'm also playing a lot of mobile games. I've been playing Star Wars Galaxy Heroes ever since it launched like 5 years ago. I'm also playing a bit of Knighthood, a new game from the makers over at King. So what am I hating on? Oh boy. This is going to go deep. I am really hating the remakes and remasters coming out of Capcom. I cannot stand the constant just remaking of these games. Oh God. And I hear that they kind of pre-announced doing another one. Drives me nuts. That aside, anyway, what am I missing? So Last of Us 2 comes out in just over 2 weeks. I still have not finished the first one or the expansion, the Left Behind DLC. I've played the first 2 to 3 hours of the first Last of Us no less than 4 different times. I'll start it, play it, be like, that was cool. I'll pick that up tomorrow. Lose it for 6 months. Do the same thing. Because I'm like, I don't remember what happened. Start over from the beginning. Same thing. 4 different times. So I got 2.5 weeks to try to beat everything. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Do
what you're saying,
Hans? Do you do anything other than play games?
Me?
Because you literally had a list of like 15 games.
Bro, like I don't like, honestly, like the amount of time I spent on those games has been so small though.
Okay.
Like the Cat Quest thing, we've maybe dumped like 10 hours into over the course of 3 weeks. Yeah. And then in Minecraft Dungeons, we played for literally half an hour the other day.
By the way, not judging Cat Quest, really.
Yeah, man, the first one was pretty fun. It's like, it's so simplistic. It's goofy. It's full of cat puns. It's hilarious.
Okay, I might just check it out. You said cat puns, and I think that now I'm in.
It's really simplistic. Victoria actually gets really bored. She's like, the story's not compelling. The gameplay is very simplistic. She's like, I kind of don't care. I'm like, well, I'm reading it for the puns. Like, I'm enjoying it. She's just like, ugh. All right, who's up next?
I can go. I mean, as I usually play a ton of different games as well. Just, one night playing this and the other playing that. But ever since the new Battle Pass for Dota came out this Monday, I've just been playing Dota and getting my ass handed to me. And I'm not really like a competitive gamer, but that game is so fun. It's so super polished. I mean, I kind of started playing just when it came out of like private beta, but it's just been, honed. That's like 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. And that actually ties into my hate thing because these kind of lifestyle games that have been out for like a decade or so, I mean, every new game that comes out needs to compete with that. So the games that kind of we make and the games that I want to see succeed has to have a reason for players to go like, oh, I picked this instead of League or CS or Warframe or Path of Exile. And those games are super ancient by anybody's standards. I mean, not that long ago, we didn't want to play games that were 7 years old, but right now we're still playing them. And they have a ton of content. So yeah, I'm kind of concerned with what the future is going to be with these kinds of games. Missing though, I would say miss playing board games with people, like meeting up with people. Obviously, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, but if you're tuning in from the future, congratulations. We're all back to hanging out in the park and doing things together. But right now, it's just very solitary, playing games online. I don't like that.
What are you hating on?
Well, I was implying that I'm hating on the fact that these lifestyle games has 10 years of content that everybody needs to compete with. How about you, Mike?
All right. So what am I playing? I'm playing Knighthood. Thank you, Paul. You bitching about it all last week has got me actually to install it now. Clash Royale, I've been playing that for 4 or 5 years. I don't even know how long it's been. However long it's been actually out, I think I've played every single day. So long, so much as that I have now started, I started about a year and a half ago, a new game and wiped everything with my new phone. So much better now. So much better. And then I'm playing Civ. Civ 6 is actually just downloaded from, The Price is Right from Epic's Game Store. It's a great strategy game that I have played off and on and actually cut my teeth early on in college. In fact, if Mom, if you're listening, if my grades were actually suffering at any point during my college career, just know there was only 2 reasons, and that was dating and Civ. Thank you, Sid Meier. So I've been doing a lot of that. Hating on the fact that I gave up my Switch at the perfect time. Not really. I'm joking. I was one of the first on board with Switch. There was like 2 games in the market, I think Zelda and Mario Kart, and I played it. And then I'm like, now it's a great ornament right next to my TV. And then a couple of weeks ago, my son said, "Hey, this whole Switch thing, you're not using it, right?" "Yeah, I got you." "Yeah, sure. You go ahead and pick it up." Turns out I missed the memo that says that Switch is cool again. Thank you, Animal Crossing. So that's out there. And so now I have no Switch. I'm hating on the fact that I gave it up for really no good reason other than the fact that I'm not cool. And then missing. Well, I mean, look, I love this, but I miss peanut butter M&Ms. I know it's not gaming, but here's the truth, man. We all have a vice, and that's my vice. And I can't get it here in Europe because, we don't like putting chemicals in our body. And the United States is really good about that stuff. And so red dye number 42, I can't get it over here. And sadly, in Corona times, you can't travel to the States. So I'm sitting here without my peanut butter M&Ms. So that's for me. Anyway, so that's the play, hate, and kind of miss stuff. So I think we should probably just jump into the topic. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but is mobile gaming? I know that a lot of us have played mobile games, and we're in the kind of the premium HD business. And I think this is an interesting topic because you've seen the industry evolve quite a bit. But the big topic is, and the question is mobile gaming destroying or taking out all of the goodness that we see in premium HD gaming? And so, what do you guys think, Hans?
Say destroying, maybe not, but it's definitely a terrible thing. Mobile games are bad. That's my take on it.
Okay, so I love that. I can't wait for us to kind of dig into that a little bit. So mobile games, you're basically saying Cisco Ebert is like 2 thumbs down or 1, whatever. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying it's bad. What are you thinking, Paulie?
I think it's good. I don't think it's destroying mobile HD gaming. I think it's a way to get more people into gaming. It's shows that there's other viable business opportunities in terms of how people can engage and play and buy games. I think there's a lot of learnings from there. There's been some bad stuff that's come out of it, but I think there's also some good stuff that's come out of it. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that in the HD space. So I think it's, there's learning and like sharing of ideas. I think it's somewhat the evolution of how people play and consume games. It also means that more people can make a game. Like it can be a single guy somewhere. There's pros and cons to that, but I don't think it's destroying it. I think there's always going to be room for somebody that just wants a massive experience on their big screen that they're just not going to get on a small device.
All right, so Paulie's thumbs up, Hans's thumbs down. You know what? You're going to laugh. I'm like, it depends. Typical marketing guy. It depends. It depends on the audience and what you think. But no, seriously, I actually think, as a general, I actually don't think it's bad. I think there's definitely some things that it has changed, though. It has definitely changed the way that premium HD gaming is today than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. And I think mobile gaming is a big part of the reason why it does that now. So it depends. So I'm kind of, let's call it an even, but maybe I think it's good. It's good for premium HD gaming, but maybe not for everybody.
I'm really curious. I want to hear more about why Hans is thinking that this is an actual problem. I just really need to know more.
Well, it's this spillover of kind of design considerations. I mean, a lot of people would sort of kick it off. Is that a lot of people would say that people play mobile games aren't real gamers because those games aren't real games, right? And I think if you look at some of the more, I read an article a couple of months ago where Nintendo said that they've made more than $1 billion in revenue off of mobile games, right? And the big one, the number one, absolute by a far margin, was Fire Emblem Heroes. And Fire Emblem is a great series of really involved tactical games that's been around forever on the Nintendo platform, right?
Yeah.
And the Fire Emblem Heroes game on mobile is a super watered down version of the game. The actual sort of strategy, tactical gameplay is kind of secondary. It's so secondary there's just an autoplay button that allows you to just like move your guys around and fight auto. And the sort of big thing that takes front and center stage is the gacha mechanics. Like you need to open loot boxes to get the new heroes and level them up. And I see a lot of that kind of spilling over into sort of the HD, whatever call it, computer gaming, console gaming, where there's such a focus on all of the stuff outside of gaming, the actual second-to-second gameplay. And I think there's a little bit of conditioning that goes into players are kind of conditioned to want to have all of that stuff. There needs to be a battle pass or a season pass. There needs to be
there's a different expectation.
Levels. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely changed expectations. I think you're right there. But I wonder if that's a bad thing, right? So like just take service as an example. The fact that I think that just by virtue of mobile gaming being serviced longer and serviced faster means that HD games have to update their game more and over a longer period of time. Is that really bad for players? I mean, it's definitely tougher on the development. That's why I think I say it depends, because in some ways, right, it's harder on the development teams. And some will thrive and do well, and they will be much better, or they will have a competitive advantage. But then there are others that are out there that will die because they will not do well. But I think that's just change in the industry. And I openly wonder if some of that would have come in a different form if mobile gaming was not around anyway.
I mean, maybe it accelerated it, right? I think that as just tech evolves, and I think you see some of the stuff that the Unreal guys have done when they did their latest tech demo. I mean, that's kind of a completely different angle here, but like, bear with me. Like they've shown like, look, this is how powerful something is, and they're trying to position it as something that like, almost anybody can do this. Like we're giving you the tools to be able to make this stuff happen yourself. So like one man can create, a very polished game. So I think that we were marching in that direction. I just think that mobile just means like, well, it's just on a platform that is now in everybody's hands. That's just everywhere you go, you can always just tap into a game.
I do think you can make the argument that in some ways mobile gaming has diluted certain experiences just by virtue of it's so easy to jump into and the free to play model, and that you can kind of stand up games. And I wonder if that has kind of starting to bleed into HD gaming. Like you can just deliver. I think the reason that that's not the case, like you see that on PC just by virtue of the proliferation of so many different games. And you don't really have a quality control there. Console gaming is more curated, so you really don't get the chance to kind of curate a lot of those gaming experiences in the same way, at least.
All right, can you dig more into that? What do you mean? Like
if you go on the Apple Store, right? Like you have thousands of different games.
No, not the curated stuff. That I get, but the thing you started with, which was I lost it.
Point Mike was trying to make was that like we're diluting games, like we're taking games and reducing them to be smaller.
But I don't think
you could say smaller. You could say dumb them down. You could say, I mean, there's a lot of, at least in the mobile gaming space, and you certainly see some of it in the HD gaming, label slaps, right? Take certain core mechanics, you swap it over, and you just slap a label on it, and then you hopefully kind of make some money off of it because you have the right compulsion loops in there that you can actually make money and catch mechanics and everything else. And you do see some of that behavior, I think, or in design when it comes to HD gaming. The thing that I sometimes struggle with is I think HD gaming, especially when you think about monetization, was on a collision course anyway. We haven't raised the prices of games in so long, right? Development costs have risen. And so at some point you have to find smarter ways to sustain your development paths if you're going to support it over longer periods of time. And so you have to find smarter ways to monetize. And at the same time, you have new business models like free to play. And so some of that stuff was inevitable, I think. It's just a matter of how. And mobile gaming in some ways kind of showed that path.
No, I mean that much I agree with. Like I said, kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like I think it accelerated some of that progress, but I don't think that it's diluted games. To your earlier point, like I think that it's influenced them for sure. But I think that there's always people out there that will always try to find, I don't know, cheaper, uninteresting ways to do things, and that's regardless if mobile was there or not. Like people have just put out crap games before. I mean, there's what is it, ET? I mean, there are landfalls of ET or landfills full of the ET game from a Atari way back then. Or yeah, like I don't think it's anything that different. I don't know. I'm more interested by how some of the things that I enjoy about gaming can be had now on a tiny screen. And I love that there's a lot of mobile games, since they're built around trying to engage somebody, mainly because of now that we're in like the free to play space with most games. Like if most games that are successful are free to play in some form. And I do like that they put a lot of effort and time in game design when it comes to like the loop of the game that you're doing. Is does everything feel good at every step of the way? And do you have enough things to do to keep you engaged? Yes, they can pressure you and those points to spend, and that's kind of how they do a lot of that stuff. But if you have the fortitude or just the wherewithal to like, you know what, I don't need to keep throwing money at it, or I can do it as I want. It's really like that just feeling of like I'm constantly doing something, I'm unlocking something, I know I'm building towards something. That's maybe more speaks to me as like kind of a core player. Like I love the grind in things, which is mapped out in some of the other HD games I love. But I think that, you know, you said that it distills that, or you said it dilutes that stuff down. I think they've like fine tuned it really well. And that part I miss sometimes in HD games, to the point where like there's not enough things to do in some games. And I'm like, I wish this had a tighter loop. Yeah,
I think that's fair. Although I also look at, you know, and again, this just could be the gaming business evolving. How many games launch that are incomplete? And that's a classic mobile thing, right? Where you launch a game and you're like, we'll fix it in service because it's a service game, right? And mobile games have always kind of been that way anyway, right? Because you don't have to have a finished game on day one because you're not taking money on day one or whatever it is, right? And so you've kind of gotten into that behavior with a lot of games now. And so in some ways you could make the argument that that's changed for the worse.
Nah, man, I disagree that mobile kicked that off. I think there were a lot of HD games that were like, hey, man, can we get that day one patch in? And that was like a decade ago. Like, that's like when mobile gaming was just kind of starting.
It's only progressed, though. It's only progressed. So you think that trend would have probably, I mean, you may be right.
Yeah.
Because I think they didn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the platform holders were like, "Hey, we now give you the option and the ability to patch your game more often. With, you know, we reduce some of our checks. Here's, you know, now it's faster. It's even faster than it ever has been on consoles. But it still takes time. But like you can plan for that stuff ahead of time. So yeah, no, I think that again, another thing that was inevitable.
So then let me ask you this, Paulie. What is bad in your mind that mobile gaming has maybe influenced HD gaming? Is there anything bad?
I think it's the abuse of game mechanics to force people to spend. So it's a lot of the loot box, the gotcha mechanics. Like it's the pressure points that they put into the game that you feel like, if I want to progress past this point, it's clear to me that I have to spend money. There's no amount of skill or time that will get me over this hump, or the time bar is like astronomically high that, okay, the only way I'll do this is I have to put in money. Like that part, I think, is like that hard gating to force you to spend is where the problem is. There's games that, like, I play some of them now where, I could pay to get something immediately for like $100. To me, that's absurd. I'd never do that. But if I can grind that thing out for 6 months, yeah, man, I got the patience. This game's good enough at a core level that I will grind that thing out and continue to play. And when small values come up, you know what? I'm enjoying your game. I don't necessarily need to play it free all the time. I'll throw in money here and there, but I'm not going to just like dump tons of money into it.
Yeah, but I think you could make the same argument. Sorry, Hans, but you can make the same argument that free to play existed long before mobile. It had existed out there on PC and other platforms, and that there was going to be pressure to make money over time. And so was mobile really the one that influenced that in a way, maybe more, but that was already on a trajectory that was going to kind of increase more.
That's fair.
Like, no, but I think it desensitized people, right? There are levels to what we, as consumers, kind of allow ourselves to be fooled, right? I mean, because we've been, we as in the games industry have been putting in sort of artificial, coin-operated arcade games are kind of bullshit, right? Because they make them really hard, so you put in more quarters. Street Fighter was like that. And just going on, we extend the grind, so you have to level up your character. So there's a reason for you to play every night. There's also retention mechanics. But also, when mobile games kind of hit their stride with all other sort of, buy crystals to kind of unlock this thing faster, a lot of people went numb for that kind of abuse. And I think there's a lot of smart people sort of looking at, what's the next thing we can do in HD gaming that's available right now on mobile that people seem to be fine with. And this battle pass, this Dota battle pass is pretty interesting because you can grind up levels in the battle pass, and each level kind of gives you some cosmetic rewards, different stuff. And there are cool rewards at 300 levels. You get a cool skin, right? Mm-hmm. You can also buy, of course, levels in there. So just you can grind it, but it's kind of obvious that if you would just want to buy everything right now, it's something like $250 to buy all of the cool ass skins they're putting out. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, that definitely, at that point though, of desensitizing you over time, and because people are now, you're getting more kind of cross gaming than you ever have.
Yeah.
I do think it's in some ways a little bit of a moot point because that's convergence was going to happen regardless, with mobile getting more computing power.
I think it's going faster now.
Yeah, it is, and so you were going to see that regardless. But I still. So let me ask you this similar question though, Hans. Is there anything good that has come of mobile gaming?
I mean, you know what? I think the end game here is streaming. I honestly do believe in streaming, just like having sort of HD level games on a mobile device.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And games that actually have a lot of content, because they can be sort of bought for and consumed and played on all devices. So if you want to play your World of Warcraft or whatever, you can play it on your iPad, down the line. And we are a couple years out until everything is streamed. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. But just a sec, Ollie. I was just going to say, you didn't answer the question, Hans.
Oh shit!
So here's the thing. No, but it's good. It's interesting. If I don't agree with that, obviously, that all things are bad. I do think there's some interesting things. Like in particular, when I think about games as a service in that evolution, I do think mobile gaming has helped influence that more, or at least accelerated that. And I think that's better for people, I think, in general. But anyway.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. I mean, it's set a little bit of a standard to what games as a service is and should be, in terms of rate of updates and that kind of stuff. I think I'm just bitter, man, because I thought this was going to be a revolution. And sometimes what happens in revolutions is that the wrong side wins, and it was a race to the bottom,
I got something for you. How about I feel like, and this maybe you guys can totally shit on this. This is great. But I N equals 1, right? I feel like mobile games are far better about just the usability and how much easier they are to get into, because they know it's a short play experience. You got to jump into it. And so I think there's a lot of kind of design cues, especially when you get to kind of user experience, that I think are carried over into HD. I think you could say that there's some goodness there. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, 100%, man. Like I love good UX in games. And I think that while mobile games are very aimed at people that are meant to just since most games, again, if they're free to play, that's how you pull in the most users. So you need to kind of hit the lowest common denominator and have that experience be understandable, easy, and compelling. So it's really just, how do you design such a tight intro? And HD games suffer from Well, once you've played one HD game, you kind of just know how to play all games. We're not going to tell you shit. Like you'll figure it out. It'll be fine. But if you're like a new person that's coming in, like if you didn't grow up with gaming, if you weren't like 8 when you first got into gaming, and you're like, I'm going to jump onto a console game and play when I'm 25 years old. Someone hands you a controller for the first time and you boot up a game. You're like, what the fuck do I do? Because games don't intro you. They don't tell you anything. No, like some do, but they're even just like, there's so much nuance or just gamer language that is not understood.
Do you know why, Paulie?
And the more a franchise player would be like, stop telling me this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's smart things that you can do though, but like I don't think enough games have spent the time to do that because they're like, we have a captured audience. The audience we know has always played these games, and trying to find a much bigger new audience to pull this in, they're just like, that's not worth our time and effort. Like we know the audience so well. They're gonna buy this game. We can expand a little bit, but we're not gonna just suddenly grab like 60 million players that have never played an HD game. Those people don't exist. So they're just like, I mean, I understand that good UX is good, but not worth my money.
We'll fix it in service.
If they ever do. Like,
I know that's a joke, but yeah, no, that's the all right. So you're still in the court of nothing good comes of mobile gaming, aside from me playing a few hours and spending more money.
It's more like being very 100% behind a thing or not, you know. I'm sure there are good spillover, but I don't think I dip my toes enough, you know, to see.
All right, that's good. It's good to know. The all right, that's good. And Paul, you're in the this is a good thing, and I think
I think it opens up so many opportunities to people that just weren't gamers before. Like, that's
like, a good point, by the way.
That's huge for me. Like, I think that more people than ever are playing games. They might not call themselves gamer, and some people that are quote traditional gamers don't view them as gamers. But a game's a game, man. Like,
yeah, that's the bit. I don't make many compliments of Paul, but when I do, they count. That's actually one comment. That actually is a really good point. The it's an onboarding for gaming, right? Like it's so easy to get into, and those are audiences that are typically, they don't call themselves gaming, to your point. They're more casual, but they get introduced to it.
It's a gateway drug, Mike.
How do we convert them though? Do we have the stats for that? Do we know that? Why data? Why details? Hans, this was a great conversation up until that point. Yeah, okay. Like this don't be Mr. Cynic coming here, like show me the data. Actually, so truth is, I'm sure there's plenty of data that shows where people kind of graduate, kind of like in the PC world, where Apple was very well known to kind of introducing computers to young people, and then that was their kind of gateway into kind of other PCs. But okay, so all right, that's great. Paulie, you're like awesome, thumbs up. Hans,
hell yeah.
Fuck off mobile gaming.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm still a tweener. I'm in the middle. I think there are some good things that have come of it. But to your point, Hans, I think this may be a moot conversation in a couple of years as we start to think about more cloud gaming. So with that, we have a new bit, and we're going to try it. I have no idea how this is going to play out. We thought of it on the fly. As you know, this is our kind of first episode. Awesome. And it's called That's Fucking Cool. It's just stuff that we see that we think that is, well, cool. And we're going to kind of bring it up. So with that, I don't know which one wants to start. Paulie or Hans? Which one?
Go ahead, Paulie. You had a thing.
Yeah, I have two things, but I'll try to keep it quick. So number one, a lot of conversation in the last 24 hours around this one. It's been the SpaceX launch for the first commercial flight into space. Huge kind of step. I wish I had the chance to follow more of it or watch more of it live streamed. But like, I love space. This is exciting. This is really cool stuff. Yeah, I don't have much more detail because I haven't been able to follow it that deeply, but just knowing that these things are happening is just exciting. And then the other fucking cool thing for me, because again, space is fucking cool, but this is kind of more personal. Destiny 2, which has been going for some amount of years now. I stopped playing, I think maybe a year or more ago. But I do love the franchise. I wish I had the time to play it more. Apparently, I saw something recently that said that they are finally going to introduce the darkness, which is the big bad that they've been naming since the first game, and it's always been kind of like shadowy, not really clear. Is this a thing? Is it a race? Is it a person? What is it? Like, it's been super vague, but apparently they're finally bringing it as an enemy. At least that's what the clues are kind of leading people to say. So for me, the kind of culmination. Maybe they're adding new stuff for a while, but like this is like, hey, now the real big bad is coming in, is kind of the sense that the community's getting. And that's probably enough to get me to jump back in, because I love the lore. I used to listen to some lore podcasts, some lore YouTube series. Like, I'm excited.
That's cool.
Destiny looks cool. It doesn't, and it, like gunplay is amazing. It's just
Bungie's always been so good at that.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right, so my thing is that a while ago, Valve released a video game. It's Alex, the VR game, right? Haven't played it yet. I mean, obviously, I have it installed somewhere, and I have a VR thing. I just can't be arsed to pull that out and whatever. But eventually, I'll play it. But one of the things that they added recently was these sort of booze bottles they find all over the place, and people have been going kind of mental over the way these things look, right? So I have a YouTube clip. I'm going to show the clip right here. So the thing is, like, these booze bottles contain kind of alcohol or beer or whatever, and you can kind of pick them up and shake them, and they react, and the beer will foam up, and it's just such a cool thing in VR to be able to see these like interactable props that you find in the world. And apparently it's one of the working from home projects for one of these like VFX programmers. It's really cool, guys. Now I'll put the link in the show notes, and it's yeah, that's fucking cool. That's all I want to say about that.
All right,
I'll check it out. I'll have to check it out. So I have something that's a little bit off the wall, and I happened to stumble across it just going through gaming news general, and I was like, that's fucking cool. And as a guy that was, well, there's two things that inspired this, by the way. One is I can't get this song out of my head, and I'm so tired of listening to it. Yep. So that's out there. I know. And now it's stuck in your head. Two, I wanted a grown-up version of Baby Sharks, and a way to get that out of my head. And I stumbled across Maneater. And so, if you guys don't know what Maneater is, and this is like never, I'm sure, I don't know if they were dropping acid when they're like, you know what, I got a good idea. Who wants to be a shark? It's going to be an RPG. It's going to be a shark PG, Oh
no. Okay.
Who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to eat people, Jaws style? And so anyway, I stumbled across this. We're going to show hopefully a quick trailer.
Yeah, I have a trailer. Is this like the M-rated version of Echo, the dolphin game? Is it?
It's something like that. But yes, you have to be careful. We'll have to put some disclaimers in the notes. But here's what I love about it. It's one, Chris Cornell, the guy that is like narrates this. So if you can listen to it, he's the Rick and Morty guy, the 30 Rock guy. And see, right? It's corny as hell. Like, their tag is "Eat the people, save the world." You're just like, come on, I can't take it serious. It's an RPG. Like, the more people I eat, I mean, there are times I know, having been to Universal, I think it was, as a kid, and seeing Jaws as a kid, where I was legitimately scared of sharks. I never wanted to get into the water because I was like, somebody was going to kick my ass. And you were like, now you're going to be a shark and you get to go to beaches and hunt people down. So look, in a world where there's no shortage of games with different spins that have different kind of idea. This is like, I'm always looking for a game that, whether it's like Goat Simulator or some shark, game, which is just, it has a different take on it. And it's actually not that bad, because typically these games are not all that well done, and it is. So let's just go show a quick clip, and then I'm going to show the trailer.
be discovered. The food chain will be disrupted. And the drama will get deadly. Because down here, things always evolve. And the hunter becomes the hunted.
That's the one who took my hand, all right. Get yourself ready, boy.
Maneater. Eat the people, save the world.
All right. And I think that concludes it. That's a wrap to our first episode of Patch and Crash. I want to thank everybody who tuned in for this one. And we've got a new episode coming out soon, so stay safe, everybody.
Thank you all for listening. If you want to see more episodes of this podcast, please check out patchandcrash.com. Also, follow us on Twitter @patchandcrash, where we post about new episodes or live streams.